Okay, let's dive right in. Today, we're going to talk about that feeling. You know, the one where you're just drowning in work. But don't worry, we're also going to look at a really smart, simple way to get your head above water and, actually finish things. I mean, you know exactly what this feels like, right? You're just go, go, go all day. Back to back meetings. Your inbox is a disaster. The to do list is laughing at you. And then at the end of the day, you kind of lean back and think, what did I actually get done today? And the answer is, not much that really mattered. It's just constant motion without any real progress. That hamster wheel just keeps on spinning.
So, where does all this chaos come from? Well, it really comes down to one fundamental problem for so many of us these days. Our work is basically invisible. Seriously, think about it. If you worked in a factory, you could literally see the product moving along an assembly line. You could spot the bottleneck from a mile away. But for us, so much of the work just exists in our heads or buried in documents on our computers. And that's what we call knowledge work. So if you're a software developer or a designer or a marketer, your whole process isn't something you can touch. There's no physical pile of half-done code or unfinished ad campaigns sitting in the corner, right? It's all abstract. And here's the kicker. If you can't even see the workflow, how on earth are you supposed to manage it? So what do? Well, our natural reaction is kind of nuts. Since we can't see the massive traffic jam of projects we're already in, we just keep waving more cars onto the on-ramp. We say yes to one more thing, we start another new task. Basically, we just hope that if we keep the engine revving high enough, something good will eventually come out the other end. But you know what that really leads to? Overload and burnout. Every time. Okay, so here's the good news. The solution isn't some super complex, expensive new system. It's actually a really simple but profound shift in how we look at things. It's all about one goal, finding a way to make all that invisible work visible. And there's a great little story about a cafe in Zurich that just nails this idea. So picture this. A fire alarm goes off in a big building. Suddenly, hundreds of people pour into this one tiny little cafe next door. Everyone wants coffee, everyone wants food, all at the same time. It's complete and utter chaos. But the baristas, they didn't freak out. They did something brilliant. They instantly made the work visible. They just pointed and said, okay, line for coffee, here. Line for everything else, over there. Just like that, by creating two simple, visible cues, they took control of the chaos in seconds. And that right there, that simple, genius idea is the absolute core of a system called Kanban. The name actually comes from Japanese, kan for visual and ban for card, a visual card. And that's pretty much what it is. It's just a way to get all those invisible tasks out of our heads, out of our inboxes, and onto a board where the whole team can see the entire workflow from start to finish. Now, this is where it gets really powerful, because it's not just about the board, it's about the mindset. The number one rule, the central mantra of Kanban is this: stop starting and start finishing. I mean, let that sink in. It forces you to break that habit of constantly kicking off new things. Instead, you put all your focus on getting the work that's already in progress all the way to done. And the funny thing is, by limiting what you're working on, you actually get way more done and faster. You finally start finishing things. Okay, wait a second. Let's pump the brakes. If it's really that simple, I mean, come on, it's just sticking notes on a board. Why is it so incredibly hard to actually make it stick? Why do so many of these big change initiatives just die a slow death? There's clearly something else going on here, something deeper. Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? You can bring in the most logical, simple tool in the world, and what do you get? Resistance, eye-rolling. People are just exhausted by the flavor of the month. We call it change fatigue. And it becomes pretty clear pretty fast that you're not just dealing with a process problem, you're dealing with a people problem. And maybe the best way to visualize this human element is with an iceberg. You know how they work, right? The little bit you see sticking out of the water, the tip of the iceberg. That's all the logical stuff. The new board, the new process, the new software. But the real danger, the huge, massive chunk of ice that can totally sink your ship, is everything hiding just beneath the surface. And what's down there in that deep, cold water? Oh, all the messy, human stuff. You've got fear of change, fear of looking stupid, trying something new. You've got comfort, just the easy habit of doing things the way we've always done them. There's pessimism, from every other great idea that failed. And you've even got things like power dynamics, because let's be honest, when you make work transparent, it can really shake up who's in control. This is the stuff we're actually fighting. So, If we accept that the real problem isn't the process, but this giant hidden human iceberg, then it stands to reason that the real solution isn't a better process. It's a totally different kind of leadership. And this comparison just lays it out so perfectly. Think about the old school 20th century leadership style. It was all about command and control. The manager was the hero, the boss, the one with all the answers. But that just doesn't work anymore. Today, in the 21st century, a leader's real job is to be an observer, a facilitator. It's not about having all the answers, it's about asking the right questions. It's less manager as hero and way more leadership as a team sport. So we're really moving from this top-down, one-way street model of leadership to something that looks a lot more like a network. It's this idea that leadership is a shared responsibility. In this new model, the leader is just the person who has the best knowledge to solve the problem at hand, regardless of their official title. Anyone can step up and lead when they need to.
And why is this so important? Because the ultimate goal of this kind of leadership is to create what we call psychological safety. I mean, let's go back to the Kanban board. The whole point is to make problems visible, but that only works if people feel safe enough to actually raise their hand and say, hey, this is blocked, without being terrified they're going to get blamed for it. If you don't have that safety, transparency is just a fantasy. And that brings us to the big takeaway, the question I want to leave you with. You've probably heard that old saying, when you discover you're riding a dead horse, the best strategy is to dismount. So I want you to really think about your own team, your own workplace. What is your dead horse? What's that one process, that one pointless weekly meeting, that old way of thinking that everybody knows is broken, but you just keep doing it anyway? Seriously, what is it? Because figuring that out and finally making the decision to get off, well, that's the first real step toward actually moving forward.